just one little state, yeah,
And there's like nobody in it, it's all just ranchers and cattle.
and us,
Yeah.
yes.
But so, I just kept thinking, just seeing all of this just space, unused space, all those arguments where people say there's not enough resources. I'm like, how could you say that? Like, look what we have.
Um,
We're just not managing our resources correctly. Like that's the basic.
and I do think that that with more and more with what's going on with COVID being really taken in hand, and that is that is Biden and his administration. Fucking guy is kicking ass. He really is. Yeah, he's not inspiring, but by God, is he getting work done? Yeah.
Yeah.
So um um I mean, the swamp thing basically just let everything go. And he is responsible for, a couple of 100,000 deaths. There's no question about that through his negligence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Biden comes in, it's still just 2 months. It's 2 months.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And, he's already got everything, the COVID crisis is now in hand. It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as the climate crisis goes, it's very heartening that to see that, the world, there's exceptions like America, the way we dealt with it because of Trump, and Brazil because of that corrupt fascist there. But by and large, as a world species, Jesus Christ, the Black Death in Europe went on, I think, for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been referencing that a lot, and I just watched another video about the Brotherhood of the Flagellant. The guys who would flagellate themselves.
Yeah.
They would smack themselves and they'd do processions through towns and to ward off the Black Death. That was like the extreme way of, yeah. But just learning how extreme the people reacted to it back then, and how long it lasted. We can overcome things, and we do overcome things. And I think that, like you say, we are becoming a lot more aware about all of these issues and a lot more, active. And
as
so
a
I,
mass, as a
yeah,
mass, yeah.
definitely.
I mean, I revere Greta, right? But she pisses me off a little bit because she thinks she's the only one who's flipped out about the climate crisis,
Yeah,
and I've been flipped out about the climate crisis for 3 times longer than she's been alive.
yeah,
Like, calm down, dear. You're not the only
yeah,
right? And I love her for her amazingly huge ovaries, right? She is a badass,
yeah,
yeah. Um, but again, the reason why the best we've been able to do for 50 years is fucking Earth Day. That's it, right? Is because the powers that be did not see the capacity for profit margin with this, and now they do.
yeah.
See?
And so like, that just makes me think about right now the gas prices are really high and they were really low under Trump administration, but it's because he cut all of the EPA and all the things protecting us. So he was able to get gas really, he did the pipeline and he pushed through all these really fucked up things, able to get gas prices really cheap in terms of destroying all of the regulations that have been in place for the past 70 years or whatever. And so it's really messed up what he did. But we have to, you have to understand that like for Greta, I don't think Trump is probably her first president that she's been around to, she's probably too young to really understand what's happened with the other presidents.
Oh no, she
And
was around. There's an amazing interview that's filmed with her and Obama,
yeah.
and she's like, "Uh huh." Obama said, "We're on the same team, right? Give me some
Yeah.
nuts." And she's like, "Uh huh, uh-huh."
Yeah, you're a politician.
Right? Said, "No, dude, no, you're
Yeah.
much better than what you're doing." And
Yeah.
under Obama, there was a lot of good EPA stuff. There was a great deal, amazing.
Hmm.
So in any event, it really, to me, I'm very heartened by what's happening with COVID, but not because of COVID, because of the climate crisis. Yeah.
And the climate crisis is hitting so hard right now. Like I told you last time we talked 2 weeks ago, that there was all these volcanoes and floods happening. Every day I turn on the TV, it's a new city in like a rainforest or Asia or somewhere that's just even Turkey yesterday, Turkey in one just city in Turkey. just the streets flooded, up to the first level of every building, and and really
Right.
what I'm seeing is these cities are just not none of the cities are built well. It's just the infrastructure of all the cities are not built well, and so once a flood happens or just a slight big flood, I mean it's a pretty big flood, but something happens probably once every 50 years, something like that comes, and it just shows how just
Yeah.
unmanageable. Yeah,
It's not going to be once every 50 years anymore. It's going to be
exactly.
every fucking year,
Yeah,
right? Till we
yeah.
get it,
But the infrastructure and the design and the way we have things set up is just not manageable, and we really have to work, like, just with what I'm seeing over all these floods every single day, we really have to redesign our cities and our society. I mean, and that's been obvious for a long time,
Right,
but it's
right.
becoming very apparent now to just the masses, because like every single day it's just a new flood, and like this didn't happen last year or the year before in my mind, but the fact that there's just a flood
No,
every single day.
no, it's actually been going on with more and more consistency for about the past decade.
Hi.
Yeah. I mean, look, Katrina was, I think, 12 years ago that took out New Orleans,
Yeah,
right? So it's been going on.
yeah, definitely.
It is worthy of note that, by and large, with the exception of Sandy overwhelming the northeast coast, right? It does have to be acknowledged that the place where the disasters are happening are almost all the southern red states.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, come on, you guys, you got to wake up here.
It was like 3 years ago or something like that, where all of Houston got flooded pretty badly,
Right.
and they had to go like save people and bring boats around the cities and evacuate and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah,
that work with in Houston is still going. I don't understand what's going on. It's like, oh, please. It's called the climate crisis, you idiot.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Um, yeah, he said to me last week that two people he know got COVID and got over it. It was nothing to it. And I'm like, oh God. And I couldn't help it. I said, you are aware that there are still 1,300, that is 1,300 people a day are still dying from it, right?
Yeah, seriously.
It's because he's been trumped. He's been chumped.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he's got a very good heart, but his powers of critical thought are almost non-existent. Almost
yeah.
non-existent.
We don't
Yeah.
have to get into it too much, but there's so many people right now just that just don't think it's that serious anymore, and so they've
No,
stopped giving up all precautions and kind of just gone back to normal life. And I'm like, it's
right.
still here. Like nothing changed yet.
It'll probably be another 8 months before we're back the way it was prior to COVID.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the Swamp Thing did another. He used somebody else's social media platform to write a letter dissing Fauci again yesterday,
Yeah, because he can't use his own.
right?
Yeah,
But the fact is he's dissing the world authority
yeah,
on epidemic medicine. He's the world authority,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So now there are all these people who are the same guy. When Fauci came up, he actually said to me, "Well, Fauci's not a politician," and I couldn't help it. I said, if you want to get your car fixed, right? You were going to go to someone is a seasoned mechanic, because then you're not going to go to a politician to get your car worked on, right?
yeah. I mean, that's
You
like a little bit
know,
scary, honestly.
and
'Cause-
he actually,
yeah,
well, I mean, a politician does not have the background to understand, epidemiology. That takes degrees and great, great years of research, all of which Fauci has.
hmm,
He worked with Obama on the Ebola outbreak, which again they dealt with so righteously that basically the masses, we hardly heard about it at all.
yeah. Right. It wasn't even a major point of news. It just happened for a little bit and then it was gone. Yeah.
It was going because it was taken care of with
Mhm.
vaccines and all that good stuff, which is why we were able to deal with COVID in a relatively short amount of time. Yeah, because again, the tools were already there. They just had to be refined. It's
Yeah.
very hopeful. It's so hopeful. God, it's so hopeful. And if we have tugboats and derricks that can move, whatever the hell the name of that big huge mega ship was stuck
Yeah.
in the Suez Canal.
So is it just partially out, or have they got it totally out?
No,
What is it?
it's done. They
Okay,
did it.
cool.
Did
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Which is really good because again the world economy after 1 week was already being impacted because there were all these ships waiting to get through the canal to get to the Mediterranean to basically feed and bring goods to Europe.
Yeah. And just another example of how like fragile the whole system is. Just one little clog in the drain, and then everything gets
Right.
plugged up.
Right.
Yeah.
But other things are. I do think that in dealing with the climate crisis, it is going to, by its nature, it is going to require us being more we minded than me minded.
Yeah.
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 Which our species needs endlessly, just endlessly. Yeah. And this could lead to a real, like a fairly astonishing new world beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
really.
I like to, well, I just like to reference that one guy who does the ocean cleanup that I've talked to you about a bunch, and he has been producing now like a lot of videos about what they're doing, and it's really good because they go into communities, and they get the whole community involved. They get the what is not the military, but the some portion of the military. They come and they help, set up the whole thing, and basically just having them go down the rivers, it makes the whole community aware of the issue along with it. And so like it's doing multiple things at once along with cleaning up the rivers, but it's really cool because it gives these poor country or nations or cities or wherever they are, it gives these poor in like city areas and on like a river in a city, but like it gives these poor cities the like something to be proud of. And that's what the one of the videos was talking about, just the people, the community, they get to like see it, and it's cleaning up the rivers, and they get educated about how the rivers are, basically making the oceans dirty, and and everything needs to be cleaned up from the rivers in order to clean the oceans. And it's a all one big system. And it's a great example of what needs to be happening on a macro scale in
Right.
order to make the change.
And it's starting to happen. And you're right. Yes, we are. If Henry Ford knew that the gas combustion engine was going to pollute the world to the point where it was threatening the life of the planet, he probably would have stuck with the steam engine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? So again, this reference that we are being punished once again for our hubris. That is misapplied. The fact is that we there's no crib sheet on how to do life with this degree of technology. We're just learning how to do it, and we're learning very quickly, very, very quickly. It's very hopeful and very impressive. It's so impressive. Yeah. Again, the fact that through social media, Greta at 17 can impact on the UN.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Wow, that is astonishing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she is one of the heroes of our time. I don't mean to badmouth her, but there are actually a lot of people my age who have been in terror about the climate issue for most of their lifespans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, nobody with power would listen. Well, now they're listening at last, finally. It only takes, islands, being buried under the Pacific Ocean to get people's,
Yeah. But what's so incredible about this tool that we're using right now is just how fast information gets shared across the world. And so, like, people are learning about these issues in real time now, and it's making it a lot more real and present, like a real present danger, I guess is just came into my mind. But um, I think there's a lot more action now being taken because people see it every day, you know?
But the main thing is it has to be acknowledged that we finally got the power brokers around the world. You want, right? Mostly the industrialists, you see what I mean? Right? Who have made, again, this disproportionate amount of money, which then, if you look at capitalism as a world expression, it is so inefficient that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. If 1% of the population has 90% of the wealth, that is so inefficient that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know,
was saying with the resources. It's basically the same issue with all of our resources. You know, like we use like, you know, most of the world's resources and in such an inefficient way, you know. It's a very same concept.
well, again, according to that hippie teacher who I so revere, back in my time when I was your age, he said that we're an eighth of the world's population and we use a third of the world's resources.
Holy crap! Yeah,
That's greed.
yeah,
That's greed. And
that's
that
serious.
is greed. That is greed. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this does not mean that we need to, not have electricity, but we need to be grateful and we need to give back. That's all.
I
That's
watched
all.
this great little documentary about people my age building tiny homes, little houses.
Right. Little.
One for financial, you know, to be a little bit more financial free, have more financial freedom, but then also sustainability. And those two things, you know, just goes into a lot of detail about how, you know, a lot of people are really being conscious about this, and even so much so that they're building their houses with these concepts in place. You know, how can I be the most sustainable and also, you know, to save money so I'm not poor.
Hi. Hi. It's called balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same. Somebody from great wealth who has this huge house up on Bishop's Lodge Road. When she and her husband saw my place, she said, "Well, this is basically just an apartment." And I laughed out loud and I said, "World beat. This is not an apartment. World beat. This is a friggin' palace." Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I would be ashamed to have a home bigger than this based on the world. I
Yeah.
would be ashamed.
I
Yeah.
mean, I have thought about it a lot, and especially going to Asia and staying with people who had just my living room was their entire house, you know, and they didn't have a kitchen, and they had a bathroom, but no, like, you know, no shower or anything like that, and like the toilet didn't even flush. You had to pour water into it to make it go down, you know, and so it's like that's how these people live, and they're on a majority of the time they're a lot happier than us. That, you know, just on the, you know, I don't know if it's
That's because they do not have media cramming down our throats endlessly. The psychology of advertising that is based on telling people that no matter what they have, they are in an anguished sense of lack. See, they are in dukkha, no matter what they have. And it's so ugly and it's so wrong, and we've got to stop this. We got to stop it, man. Yeah.
but for me, it has allowed me to really be in the same position that you are in just now, where I appreciate what I have. You know, even though it's not a mansion, but I really don't need a lot of space. Like we were just saying, like I don't need so much space that like I don't even go in half of my house. You know, I know people with houses that are so big, they don't even use half of their house. They only use small portions. It's like, what is the point of having a living room that is as big as my whole house that you don't even use ever? You know, it's like it makes no sense.
But even us, Alex, from being in Asia, that even with your apartment, there would be like 6 or 7 people living in that.
Yeah, yeah, easily. It could be, you know, yeah, definitely.
With probably goats and chickens too.
Yeah, right.
And again, none of this is about finger wagging. We're not dissing each other or dissing, the people in our culture, but by God, the themes that come out of our culture, for the masses, that we are dissing because it is designed to make you feel dissatisfied. Yeah.
Yeah. it leads to the results that we see all around us, which are not all that great, and there
Oh,
are
no,
smarter ways to do
yeah,
it.
me versus we. I'm sorry. I understand that the fear connected with that, but the fact is, it is so inefficient, if nothing else, because it leaves us, even if we have enough food and shelter and clothing, it leaves us alone.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
leaves us alone.
if we're coming from like 1,000 years ago where everyone's warring tribes and you have to worry about saving your village or someone's going to come in and rape your women and take your children.
You
I
mean
understand where
now?
it's yeah, I understand where that mentality of me is a little bit more realistic, but we're not living in that day and age anymore. We have the
No, no. If anything, that's where we should be happening, so that everybody in the village bands together, right? And they keep the invaders from taking over the village. See, right?
yeah,
One person can't do that. 500 people might, you
yeah,
see? So all of this is based on this, really this terrible norm that, everybody is out for themselves. That's a choice. We don't have to live like that. We don't have to. We don't.
yeah. That's exactly what I was just saying. Yeah,
And so let's not.
yeah,
Please,
yeah.
God almighty.
Seriously,
Yeah, it's so ugly. It's so ugly.
yeah.
And it is so inefficient. Yeah. Um,
But like you said, we're getting there slowly, slowly, and I think it'll happen eventually. Who knows? You can't predict when, but I think if a meteor doesn't come hit us or the world doesn't explode by all the volcanoes or whatever, I think over time it's gonna, we'll get there. Like you said, we're learning at a really rapid pace, and we are overcoming things pretty quickly. So, I do have a lot of hope. I'm on that hopeful side for humanity that I do see that it goes in the right direction if we don't blow ourselves up first.
well, understand that for my whole life, that blowing ourselves up. I mean, that was my generation's first reference to the end of the world. Is that we're once again a handful of people are going to be responsible for blowing up the whole goddamn world. Yeah, which is still a very real threat. But now it is much more complicated and much more convoluted. However, with the like those surfer guys who make bracelets out of the plastic that they pull out of the sea,
Mhm.
right? Which then you pay for, which funds them getting more people to bring out more. I mean,
Yeah,
all of this stuff is, and these are two surfer dudes,
yeah,
right? They started as dumb surfer dudes who then all of a sudden, got focused.
yeah.
Yeah. And what they're doing is astonishing. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Back to the boy in slack guy, the guy who's doing the river cleanup and the ocean cleanup. He makes these they're high end glasses, sunglasses, out of the recycled plastic that they pick up. So that you
Excellent.
can, yeah, yeah. And they're
Excellent.
doing different business models with the recycled plastic that they're picking up, and it
There's
can
that.
be.
I can't remember who. It's one of the big mega petro companies. Um, uh, Maybe it's a soda company that now they finally are working with plastic that can be recycled
Mhm.
endlessly as then to make bottles, and they won't end up in the ocean or drowning sea turtles and
Yeah.
shit. Right?
And I just saw a video about plastic bricks for building houses.
Hi,
Yeah,
hi.
and they
And
last
of
a long
course,
time,
our
durable.
point is that plastic lasts forever. Well, it's like, okay. So now what they do have to do, because it is true that plastic as a petrochemical, basically, it does exude like bad
Chemicals or
gases and shit.
toxins. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
toxins.
does.
So,
It does, right? Yeah, but this is also true of latex paint, which is basically plastic paint.
mhm.
However, plastic, by the way, this is something that Frank Herbert, the Dune guy, and again, tomorrow night I'll give you the book if you still want it.
Yeah,
But he was also aware as an ecologist. I mean, he was so into the environment so long ago that he was called an ecologist, for God's sake, not an environmentalist, right? Yeah. But he understood the value of plastic if again we can work with it more, so that bottles and bottle caps, or plastic bags biodegrade in a year, right? And then they can be used to make more of them. But taking care of the gases that are emitted from those bricks, right? Then potentially we have a substance that will make houses last for longer than stone.
Right. And I mean, this gets a little, it made me think of something that might be a little bit more sophisticated, but like if you could harness those gases somehow to like generate power or electricity or something.
Yes, no shit, Alex, you're
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
right. There was some vent off each one of the bricks or something.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the other thing is, now that we are acknowledging that this is a world issue, you and I have done this rubric before. If you have a problem that needs to be solved, and you have 10 people who are in competition with each other, you have another 10 people who are working cooperatively. Who do you think is going to solve the problem faster?
Yeah. I personally would say the 10 people who work together because they
Indeed.
all putting their minds on one problem
Right.
opposed
That
to
is
10 people
exactly right.
spread apart, you know?
Right. Right. Or being in competition where one person begins to get the answer and they don't share it with other people because they're in competition. You
Yeah.
see?
Yeah. And
Well,
they hide information and
yeah,
that
hi.
stops
That,
growth.
yeah, that's economic socialism. I'm sorry, gang. I'm sorry. That's what that is. 10 heads are better than one head. Yeah. This is why the old man in India, my teacher said 1 and 1 is 11. Isn't that the shit?
But so what does he mean exactly by that?
Well, what he means is if you have one person trying to again solve a problem, you're going to get a certain amount of trajectory based on that one person using their energy to do it.
Yeah.
If you have two people doing it, it is exponentially more energy. Yeah,
Hi.
that's what he
Yeah.
meant. So instead of 1 and 1 being 2, two people working together is so much more potent that 1 and 1 is 11.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I totally understand it. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right? Also, with his accent, it was wonderful. 1 and
Yeah.
11.
That's great. Yeah. And even like for me with artistic endeavors, like I can come up with a lot of stuff on my own, but when I work with someone else, it's also great to create ideas together because you come up with completely new things that you wouldn't have come up on your own. And
Indeed,
so,
that is exactly right. That is exactly the point. Yes.
yeah.
Um, um, so I do think that since we're on this theme today, and I want to get back to the importance of the now because it is the fundamental way to regain energy and joy in life. It's the damnedest thing, the simple thing. That being said, I just want to reiterate that the irony of life on planet Earth is that COVID is forcing us into working collectively.
Hmm.
Food banks and vaccine drives and harnessing the National Guard and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? It is forcing us into working collectively with much more efficacy. It's wonderful. Well, again, that is going to translate into the climate crisis. And again, one of the amazing ironies of this is it is forcing us into being more we aware instead of me aware. It's astonishing to me.
Yeah, I see it too.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of wonderful. Similarly, you having a partner who is East Indian who lives in Nairobi,
Yeah, Nairobi, Kenya, yeah.
right? I mean,
I think he's Kenyan. He's African, I believe.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
it may be. There's a lot of East Indians in Africa, a
Yeah.
lot, and they go there to work.
Yeah.
All right, but that being said, the fact is, that's thousands and thousands of miles away, not to mention an ocean,
Yeah.
right? So all of this, ironically, is putting us in much more of a norm of being a collective.
Definitely. It's becoming one world instead of like, one nation or
Right.
whatever. Yeah. And
Exactly. And we are going to have to grow into, the fact that we are earthlings, and that's going to happen very quickly,
yeah.
very quickly. Yeah. And that's why this issue of diversity is so important. And then again, okay, so again, we're trained to believe with small groups of people, then going into big groups of people, as in countries, that if we are all the same, that is what assures safety, right? Well, now dealing with diversity, that's exploded because in terms of the world, we are so different, so many different expressions of life within our species. So then what then is the fallback that will allow us collective safety? Goodness. See? Then we have to go back into situational ethics and goodness. Yes? Which again, ironically, is of course where we have to be. And then, somebody can, have cornrows or a bald head or wear a dhoti instead of trousers. Yeah. And again, if all those different expressions are still being manifested with the understanding that we have to be good with each other, then we have safety and diversity.
Yeah.
Yes? Right?
Yeah. I guess for anybody, if anybody else is watching this, do you want to explain how situational ethics is applied to a situation, how it works, just so people can know the benefits of it.
Yeah, situational ethics actually comes out of the ethics of or the philosophy of ethics. Yeah. And that's where that phrase comes from, situational ethics. Well, what it actually means, and again, to my way of thinking, one of the most potent examples of situational ethics, again, you and I have talked about this over the years, is the vignette in The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck, where at the end of the book, the Judd family is stuck in an abandoned boxcar, starving, and the Judd girl's baby has died from malnutrition, starvation, and there's a couple of strangers in the boxcar with them, and they are starving to death.
Yeah.
She has milk in her breasts, and she gives them her breasts to suck so that they can have her milk so they do not starve to death. These utter strangers, yes? Yeah. Now, according to cultural norms, by the way, that is why the Christian right, way back in the 40s, I think it was the 40s, banned the book.
Yeah.
They banned the book because they said that that was immoral. Now, do you view that as immoral?
No, I'm like, who cares? I mean, I think it's a good, obviously it's a good thing.
Alex, it's a little bit more than who cares. What she did by overcoming the inhibition of social modesty, right? Is she allowed these two strangers to live?
Yeah.
Through what she did. So I mean, that was an act of nobility. You see, right? Well, does that mean that every woman should allow a stranger to drink her breast milk? No, of course not. Of course not, right? But if some other situation arises where that same vignette is occurring, then, that would be the noble way to deal with that situation. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely.
Noble.
Yeah.
You understand?
You don't apply this logic to every single situation the same. You look at each situation individually and say, how do I judge this situation based on the merits, and what can I do?
Yes, how can I manifest goodness specifically with this situation? Yeah? Now, the rule book keepers say that's very dangerous. Well, you know what? On a certain level, I agree with that. Yeah, but if your intention is to manifest goodness, right, then no, it's not. You just have to be awake enough to pay attention in each now. How do I manifest good now?
Why would it be dangerous?
Well, because people can get into endless speculation. Like you telling me last week that now on social media with that guy who's given away millions of dollars, that he's doing it to be self-aggrandizing, therefore it doesn't count and it's bad.
Yeah.
See, that could be the outcome of again, an overdone situational ethic. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Where, again, everything then stalls everything else out. Yeah.
you're being very logical with the situation, but in what to what end, you
To
know?
what end, Alex? That is
Yeah.
exactly right. So again, if the end is, at the least, as few people are hurt by an action as possible, and at best, as many people as possible are benefited by an action, right? Then you can work with what goodness can be manifested in this unique now.
Yeah. Yeah, because logic and can do some terrible things also, you
Right.
know, can lead to some terrible things. And so it shouldn't be the end all be all in a situational ethics when you're trying to assess a situation and determine what's right or wrong. It shouldn't just be logic. You also have to look at what is the end result? Can it lead to good or bad? And you have to, weigh all of those
You
things.
have to apply, along with intelligence, you have to apply goodness. And again, what is goodness? At the least, goodness is don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit. You understand? That's at the least, right? At best, it is reinforce, be of service, be of help.
Right.
Yes. And again, if everybody was doing that, and I'm sorry, but we have to go there, right? If
Mhm.
everybody was doing that, at the least, I do not want my actions, not my thoughts, but my actions to cause misery. At best, I want my actions to cause benefit.
And why did you make a distinction between your thoughts and your actions there?
Because again, the number of people who've said to me that they are concerned about the suffering of the world and then don't do dick about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they don't give to save the children or give a homeless person money or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
See, right? Just like these people saying that any act of giving, right, is self-aggrandizing. Therefore, it has no merit. Therefore, we don't do it. I mean, with that kind of rationale, how can you change anything for the good?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because it's a decent argument, so people just it
No,
becomes the
no,
argument.
it's not decent. It's logical, but it's not decent. It's stupid. I'm sorry, right? Selfishness is you keep everything for yourself. Let's get real with what selfishness is. Now, if that person, right, is giving away millions of dollars, and actually, so that means maybe thousands of people have benefited to a degree, and he is doing it selfishly, so what? No, I mean it. I
Yeah,
mean
I
it.
mean, I can't come up with any argument that would say that's
Right?
wrong. I mean,
If good benefit occurs, it doesn't matter why he's doing it, but good benefit is occurring.
yeah,
Yes? Right? Right? So this is why, once again, it is not what you are. Yeah. I have a gay friend, right, who is probably one of the most moral men I've ever known.
mhm,
So it is not what you are. Donald Trump is heterosexual. He is one of the most compromised, fundamentally corrupt, unto evil human beings, right? That I am aware of. So again, it is not what you are, it is how you are what you are. Huh?
yeah, exactly.
Huh? The bikers, what was the thing that the bikers do? Toys for Tots that the bikers do. Even some of the one percenters do that.
Mhm.
They do a tour once a year, a bike run, and make money to buy poor children toys.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, that's a really good thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you go to Las Vegas and end up in a gunfight with a rival band, right? That's not so much.
yeah.
Not so much. So again,
Same
it's
same group of people.
type.
Yeah,
Yeah. Terrible things have been done in the name of organized religion. We all know this ad nauseum. Yes. That does not mean everything that is done in the name of organized religion is bad. Yeah. For throughout our history, organized religion, Christianity, this is true of Christianity in large part with the Jesuits, who took on, doing things like schools and orphanages. They did that. They did that. Yes. So again, up against the Inquisition or the Crusades, right? one could say, well, that's kind of a paltry counterbalance, right? The answer to that is, I don't care. Say that to the kids who then have a roof over their head and clothing and food,
Mm-hmm.
even if orphanages are compromised living situations, which by and large they are. It's better than being out on the street, man.
Yeah, so you can't really weigh, try to weigh those two things in comparison. You have to use situational awareness for each situation.
Right.
You can't say just because these guys were doing bad that all the good was negated.
Right.
It's the good did good in the situation, the bad did a lot of bad in the situation, but they don't necessarily negate each other. It's just that what led to the best results and how can we move on from there and and replicate those results.
Right. And the answer is once again that regardless, this is the old man in India saying the Christians call it water, the Muslims call it jal, the Hindus call it pani. What is the correct name for the substance? Well, the same thing can be said about goodness. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
in different languages, the word for good is going to be different, but the gestures,
Mm-hmm.
right,
are universal.
Yes, they are, again, if it is under the rubric of organized religion and bad is happening, I don't care. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yes? If the 1% bikers are doing once a year a bike run, right, to raise money for Toys for Tots for poor kids, that act in and of itself is a good act.
Yeah.
Yes?
And
selling methamphetamine, in poor communities, not so much.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to go champion them and become a fan of them, advocate for them, but they did do good things, so you can't acknowledge at least there are some good acts that are being done amongst the bad stuff.
And I will advocate the bike run for Toys for Tots.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. The orphanages that are set up. Alex, I saw a thing on PBS about 2 months ago about the guy who developed GMOs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Growth hormones.
Yeah.
Well, again, he wasn't like Monsanto out to make profit. He was trying to stop world starvation. That's what he was trying to do, man.
Yeah.
And, he lived in third world countries for a good part of his life, experimenting with different crops and wheats and stuff like that, to get the highest yield so that then the cost of these staples could come down. So then they would be available for many, many more people. And that was his intention. Well, again, so the foundational intention of GMOs was good, right? What the mega corporations, the farming corporations did with it, not so much.
Yeah, so they took it and did the exact opposite. They totally, stole it.
Pesticides began as a way to have a higher crop yield, right? Without the understanding that with the pesticides going on the vegetables, and then the cows eat the vegetables or the humans eat the vegetables, they are eating a certain amount of those pesticides, right? Or, if you want to kill, I don't know, borer beetles that kill rice plants, but it also kills bees that pollinate everything, right? This needs to be rethought.
Yeah. There are healthier ways to do it, I think. Well, I know so because I've seen them, but.
Well, this is still, don't you see, this is still based on a reference of, at the least, don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit. At the best, right, reinforce, heal, and help. You see? So we come back to, again, there has to be a reference of goodness. And that is our paradigm. At the least, don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit. Well, if we apply that to Monsanto, right, they are exploiting and they are harming, right, terribly. Yes? And they are stealing.
And I think if you take that and mix it with the fact that nothing like the internet or TVs or TV, video games, music, or whatever is inherently good or bad. It's how people use it and interact with it that decides that. And if you interacting it with a place of don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit, don't cheat,
at the least, dude.
at the least,
we have been so negativized. I don't think there's such a word, but the negative has been so reinforced that our reference for goodness is don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit. Well, that is the lowest determinant. You understand what I'm saying? It should be about us impacting on other beings, right? So that their quality of life is improved, But see, that allows us establishing both right and wrong, both good and evil, if you will excuse me. If our gestures cause suffering, that would be called evil. I'm sorry, but that's it. That is true. Yes? If our actions cause ease of being or even improve quality of life, right, for other beings, that would be called good. This isn't difficult, right?
Yeah. My mom is trying to get me. Well, she's convincing me right now to go. She wants to go down to Mom. Where is it? To Texas or to Glorieta to volunteer to help all the kids at the border and stuff like that, and to
I applaud your mom for that, for that thought, and hopefully for that action. Hey.
What was that, Mom? Sorry, I missed it.
No, but tell her to say it louder so she's in on it. Yeah.
Baptist Church in Pecos housed 2,000 children immediately.
The Baptist Church in Pecos is going to house 2,000 kids immediately, and so they need volunteers and people to help them.
You see,
yeah.
And this is way beyond don't harm, don't steal, don't exploit, right? This is about making it better for those 2,000 kids. And again, for your mom to want to be in on that expression of goodness.
She's serious about it, yeah. It's been intense. Yeah.
You too. I mean, what a lovely way to spend some lifespan. Yes or no, dude?
Yeah.
Right? Good going, Mom!
Chris says, good going, Mom. Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, so...
Just to continue, just to follow through on this, yeah? Let's just say that began to be the way that we live our days. How might I affect good in this day? Yes?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think? Now, let's say not even all of us, but let's say a third of us do that. Yeah? Right?
I think it would make the world a better place, right, at the least.
Remarkably better. Yes?
Yeah, seriously.
Yes? Suppose half of us did that. Yeah? And it does need to be said that probably, there are about a third of us who do think like that. Not everybody, not all of our kind is bad. Yeah? It is still true that the majority of us, right, are still concerned about being good.
I agree. No, I definitely agree.
But you do see, now that we're talking about this, how foundationally being good, attempting to be good, right, is the most important thing in life.
I totally agree, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. Because, like we have so much capabilities, and this world can be, we could be so much better than we are right now, just in terms of sustainability, in terms of, technology, everything is civilization, infrastructure, all of it, and so if we were just, I think at the beginning, if we just started with that, if we all just helped each other, that's what would, really allow us to expand all those other areas.
Hi. But you see, we need to come back to reestablishing the foundation of right and wrong and good and evil. You understand? And these are living things. The reason why people, and for all my life, I've acknowledged that one of the terrible things that we've done with goodness is we've made it a regimen instead of an art form. You understand?
Yeah.
Right?
Kind of. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is the exact same thing, but like those people who are saying, "Oh, now he's being selfish by giving money, so he shouldn't do it." It's this weird regimented construct that now kind of makes it like it's not loose, it's not malleable, it's like this, it's so set in stone,
But that particular one, I'm sorry, that is so many people then do not have to do any act of attempted goodness, right? Because they can blow it off by saying, well, actually, it's self-serving. The real answer to that is, so what?
Yeah.
See, then we're back to, you do good because it feels good. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the guy at the drive-in to the Natural Grocery on Cordova, but he's an old homeless guy. He's a couple of years older than me. He's in his 70s, and he's a pretty good artist, and he does drawings. So instead of just, taking handouts, he's trying to sell his work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? So I pulled up next to him the other day and I said, dude, I don't have any room in my place for any more art, or I'd buy one of your pieces, but can I give you some money? And he went, yeah, absolutely, give you some money. So I did. I reached in my wallet and I pulled out a whole bunch of singles and I gave them to him. And he was like, oh man, outstanding. And he did this. And we had this moment of humor together and commiseration, two old guys. And, what a bitch it was that, life had put him in that position. But, how cool it was that he was still trying to do what he could do to offer something in return for asking for money. I mean, again, that's noble. That's noble.
Yeah.
Well, again, did I feel self-satisfied in giving that guy some money? You damn right I did, right? If somebody had said to him, well, Chris is doing that so he can feel good about himself, that old guy would have said, and?
Yeah, right. He's like, I'm still getting the money. Doesn't affect me at all. Yeah. Seriously.
So we're getting up there. Why don't we start with that? So if you do go up to Pecos or Glorieta to do that, I hope you're going to be back in time for Qigong tomorrow night.
I will let you know. It won't be tomorrow. It'd probably be, I think it'll be in a little bit. My mom, I think she wants to go for a month, so it'd be I'd plan it out and I'll let you know what happens and everything.
Okay, but Glorieta is not that far away, dude.
What was that, Mom? Oh, the one she said is in Texas. The one is in Texas, yeah. And then, but so yeah, it's gonna be a big plan. I'd have to figure out all the logistics and
stuff. But anyway, based on the fact that we're still dealing with restrictions from COVID, right? This would be a wonderful way for you to spend some of your lifespan. So your mom's idea is like rock steady. It's such a fantastically good idea. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to have to end up doing it one by one. That's all. Yeah?
But no, I'll be at the class tomorrow too. So nothing's going to happen that quick.
Hi. All right, bro. Yeah. So I think even though I do want to get back to, again, the nourishment of a consistent return to the now. It's so important. It's so very important. And it's so simple and it's so doable. Again, in closing, right now for you and for me, what bad? What bad, dude?
Yeah. I mean, nothing's bad for me. Yeah.
Me either.
Now,
the stuff that I'm carrying in my head, I could say, yes, if I want to go into what I'm thinking about, that could then be true to a degree. But as far as actual negative impact on my quality of life, if I look at my quality of life is just fine. Thank you so much.
And in fact, it's actually pretty good. It's actually very great.
It's very. I'm going to go now have lunch. Yeah. Right. That's very good.
Yeah, me too.
Good. Yeah. But again, if we can come back to this as again a lifestyle instead of a passing investigation, it does lend itself to an astonishing abundance of life. You see, right? So if we have abundance, we begin to experience gratitude. If we are experiencing gratitude, there is more of a chance that we will then experience commiseration, empathy with other beings, particularly other beings who are in need. If our plate is full, right, then we can give some from our plates.
And that's how we make the world a better place.
Indeed. And if that became the norm, you see, yes, so many fewer people and other beings. Yes, yeah. Our pets who were so horribly treated and stuff like that, man.
So it comes back to two thoughts that kind of work in tandem with each other. Is one, obviously, be the change that you want to see in the world.
You mean in concert? In tandem means at odds with each other. You mean
In concert? Yeah, they work together. Yeah. Be the change that you want to see in the world, and also, your life can be miserable or it can be happy, but the work is all the same. It's up, it's up to you.
Right. Right, indeed. And this is why this expression of free will for each one of us individually, you understand, right, is the most potent expression of free will, where we are choosing how to do our nows. You see, it's so very, very important. And of course, this is why the Taoists and the Hindus and the Buddhists have been doing be here now for, thousands of years.
It's practical. It's not something that's so metaphysical or out of the world. It's realistic. It makes sense, and it's practical. Something we can all do.
The irony of it is it ends up being metaphysical.
After, once you get into it.
All right, my dear. I love you.
I love you too. All right, cool. I'll be there.
You're breaking up, Scotty.
I'll see you tomorrow, but I'm gonna get that book too, the Dune book.
Dune book. Okay, excellent, cool. Dude. Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, man. Love to you.
I love it too. You have a good one. Bye.